Folks, we had a little technical difficulty. I went to unmute so we could start talking, and there was nothing there. So I hear somebody put in, "I can hear you." So you might have I wonder if you could hear us when we were panicking there, Connie, of not being able to hit the button and be able to. It didn't look like you guys were unmuted, so I had to call in from my cell phone real quick. Hey, having said that, let's go ahead and get started. We are running 4 minutes late thanks to that little issue there. Hey, so you guys saw while you're waiting in the lobby, our next Master Recruiting Techniques Conference is coming up in a couple weeks here in Indianapolis. Baldwin's and Lyons Insurance is hosting that event for us. It's September 12th through the 16th. You can go to masterrt.com to see more information on that event and to register and or call us directly. I also want to mention on October 24th through the 26th is the ATA Safety, Loss Prevention, and Human Resource Management Council Convention. That's a whole mouthful, and frankly, I think it's longer than that. But FYI, on the 24th to the 26th, we're doing a course. It's 2.5 days long of my recruiting department management and leadership course, and we work through my 100 and some odd page book on that subject. And then we'll also have some HR attorneys and others that will start presenting on Wednesday afternoon regarding some trucking specific HR issues. So FYI, that's coming up as well. You guys will see some email blast from me about that. Having said that, we're going to go ahead and get started because we're up against the wall. I of course want to thank TruckRight, HireRight, and Ramsey for their support of this monthly webinar. And with that being said, we have Matt Lee, Vice President of Business Development from Ramsey, here again. And Matt has made almost every one of our calls. There's one, well, I think last month he wasn't able to make it, and although I talked to the Ramsey Minute pieces. And I like having the Ramsey Minute in these calls because, folks, if we can't find them, we can't recruit them. And that's what Ramsey does all day, every day, is help fleets find their drivers. With that, Matt, yeah, I think you're going to talk about brand integrity today.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. I would like to address brand integrity and talk about the importance and why we should be concerned about our brand integrity out there. And so there's really 4 points to it. There's uniqueness, quality, consistency, and credibility. And I want to kind of drill down on each one of these individually. So I think we would all agree that in our current market, it's a pretty competitive market. We're all having challenges finding drivers out there, and so it's very, very important to figure out what makes your company unique. A driver today, I was reading a statistic the other day that said that they will visit 16 different sources before they make a decision. And so it is important for you to find what makes you unique and be able to tell that story. We're all number one. Just ask us. And so, again, going back to the figuring out what your story is and finding your story and being able to define that is the first step in creating this brand integrity. The second would be quality. And it's very, very important after you have figured out what your unique story is to create a quality version of that message. So work with your internal marketing team. Or if you don't have an internal marketing team, hire an outside advertising agency or marketing firm to help you develop that. Because again, it's very, very, very important for you to be able to stand out among the crowd and convince these drivers why it is that they should come to work for you versus one of these other 16 sources that they're visiting. And so if they get to your landing page, let's say, and you do have that unique story, and it is compelling, but they land on the landing page, and the landing page is a whole bunch of different fonts, and it's not mobile friendly, and it's very hard and difficult to navigate, then obviously there's a quality issue, and that driver will move on without taking action. So it's very important once you define that uniqueness to be able to transfer that uniqueness and that story through a quality message. And the third thing is consistency. So once you've defined that uniqueness and you've built that nice looking brand, then it's a matter of telling that story the same way across the board. So you keep that brand integrity through every type of advertising platform that you're using. So let's just say that I have a banner ad out on a website, and it's a nice looking message, and it's talking about family time and home time or pay or whatever that message is, and it's very nice looking. We want that message to remain the same when they get to that landing page. We never want to have a banner ad out there and then they get to the landing page and it looks completely different and it's telling a completely different story. That's going to create a higher bounce rate, which means that they've come in from that ad, landed on the landing page, and they think they're at the wrong place. And so then they leave. And they leave without taking action. And so it's very important to keep that message consistent, keep that look consistent, and carry it across all platforms. And the final thing I want to touch on today is credibility. Again, stick with the message. Whatever that message is that makes you unique and defines your brand, stick with it. And you have to have company buy-in across the board. You want your drivers out there talking about the same uniqueness. You want everyone who comes in contact with any potential applicant to be telling that same story. And get your drivers involved. Have them do testimonial videos. Why it is that you are unique. Let them tell that story in their perspective. It's going to go a long, long way in a very tough and competitive market. And when these drivers are visiting these 16 different sources, if we're doing these things and keeping that brand integrity, you're going to have a greater chance to win. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Kelly.
You bet. Hey, Matt, before you totally turn it over, I tell you something I've seen going on, and maybe you can talk about it for a couple of just real short. But I've seen, in the last few months, recruiting advertising has been down. People haven't had quite as much of a driver need. But I can tell you here at Impact, my phone has been exploding. I just got 2 more messages laid on my desk while you were talking from major fleets saying we need to talk about recruiting advertising and retention. Are you seeing an uptick in the industry of people searching for drivers?
Absolutely, and I think the ATA talks about that. Bob Costello talks about the fact that the economy was masking the driver shortage to some degree. Freight was down a little bit. I am seeing that carriers are starting to get that increased freight, which all of a sudden they're realizing, wow, okay, this driver shortage didn't go away. We're still having issues, and I have 16 trucks against the fence, or 50 trucks against the fence, or whatever that number is. Wow, now I'm kind of behind the 8 ball, and so I'm really going to have to ramp it up and get started on filling these trucks. And absolutely, my phone is. I would say that we are in the same boat, Kelly. We are definitely seeing an increase in need.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. And folks, Matt I heard him talking earlier. He's like, find an agency, do it yourself. He's really tries not to sell, and I appreciate that. But I will say, if you're looking for an agency that's going to work for your best interest, give Matt a call. It doesn't cost anything to call him and to have a conversation, and you guys will figure out real quick why it is that I invite them to be on this phone call. Because they take care of my clients. And with that, thank you, Matt, so much. And if you can, stay online. Folks, I will mention that there is a way to put in questions and comments, and I appreciated Connie's helping me earlier as we were going through this audio issue and her sending quick messages to me. That was helpful. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the main portion as well of this call, and that is the top 2 reasons for driver turnover. Now, folks, I've been saying it's called the Recruiting Insider Call. I've really thinking we got to change the name to this to maybe Recruiting and Retention Insider or something like that. But the reason I've been staying on retention is after the webinar, there is a questionnaire, and you can indicate, topics that you'd like to see in the future. And what has been happening is people keep saying retention. We need more on retention. And so I've been staying on the retention talking points. And so this month I'm going to talk about, appreciation. The top 2 reasons for driver turnover is lack of appreciation and lack of respect. Other things come behind that. And that's been that way for years. And this month I'm going to talk about appreciation specifically. And then next month, on September 29th, by the way, is our next Recruiting Insider call. We're going to talk about respect. And because, folks, it's amazing all the things people try to do to retain drivers. And, folks, these 2 things are free. But if you don't do them, it doesn't matter all the other things you do, you will still have and experience high turnover. So lack of appreciation, lack of respect, the top 2 reasons. Appreciation being the one we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to take a little bit out of Gung Ho, and I highly recommend the book Gung Ho. And don't have a lot of time here to talk about how it was written, why it was written. I will tell you, read the introduction of the book. You'll understand why it was written, and it'll put a lump in your throat. And I'm getting some comments from some people right now saying, "Oh, I love that book. Love that book." It's an easy read, and one that you don't want to put down. But it's actually the gift of the goose is the last principle out of the book. The first, being the way of the, well, I don't say the way of the squirrel. Anyway, the squirrel. The next being the way of the beaver, and then the gift of the goose. And one thing about the gift of the goose, it's all about appreciation and recognition, and one of the principles is appreciation needs to be true. So there's your acrostic. It needs to be a timely. When somebody does something wonderful, put it right then. Oh, the spirit of the squirrel, by the way, I couldn't come up with that a minute ago, and I was embarrassed by that. Spirit of the squirrel, the way of the beaver, and the gift of the goose. It was Indian that was telling the story, and so everything has to do with nature, and it's a really great book. But appreciation must be true, so timely. Meaning, when somebody does something great, you need to do something. You need to show that appreciation in a timely manner, and there needs to be responsive and unconditional. There's no strings tied to this. Hey, I appreciate what you did. Thank you very much. And it also needs to be enthusiastic. And I'll drill down on that more as we continue in to when I get off the book and kind of talk, the Kelly talking points. To going on as you cheer each other on. And by the way, here's a little joke for you. I was asked one time by my dad. He said, "Son," he says, "do you know why when you see the goose fly overhead that one line is shorter than the other?" And I looked at that and I studied that, and I was trying to figure out, why is that line shorter than it? Why did the geese do that? And he said, "Son, it's very simple. There's more goose in that one line than there is in the other, or geese in one line than the other. So sometimes the answers aren't quite as deep as we thought they were." But what, as you watch them go, they're cheering, they're honking along. They're not waiting to celebrate at the end of the journey. They're cheering and they're excited, and they're cheering along the progress toward the journey. So many times we want to set some goal out there, and then we just put our nose to the grinding wheel, and okay, hey, listen, that's what we're doing, and we just carry that load all day, every day. And if there is no appreciation, no cheering going on that helps us to see we're making progress toward this goal, folks, we can lose our enthusiasm, we can lose our focus, and pretty soon you can just put that goal on the shelf with all the other dead goals that never came to fruition. One way that I cheered progress with my recruiting department every morning is we had a 5-minute stand-up morning meeting. In that morning meeting, people would say, we've got this many on the list, this many more possible, and they'd go all the way around the table reporting those numbers. At the end, I'd say, all right, guys, we've got this many on the list, this many more possible, we got this many in orientation this week, that's going to net us this many empty trucks, at the end of this week, and this is what we'll start next week with. And so we all, we were cheering the progress. So then as we would add another driver to the list, we got a little bell. We started with the cowbell, but it ended up being a small bell because compliance was at the other end of the room, and there was so much partying going down in recruiting and celebrating going on in recruiting as we, added more people to the list, that the compliance, being the stick in the muds that they were, that they didn't quite like the noise. And I told them if they didn't like it, they could move. But anyway, so we were cheering on the progress, and we had a goal that we were shooting for, and we all knew where we were on that goal. So, when you look at it, needs to be, the congratulations and the cheering needs to be more from the right-hand list than the left. Is it spontaneous? Is it individual? Now, we had some blanket stuff going on, of course, but have you ever noticed that time when your boss out of the blue comes to you and says, man, I just want to tell you thank you so much for what you just did. I mean, with the way that you did this campaign you put together, the results that we're getting from this campaign, we are filling, when we started this project, we had 40 empty trucks that we couldn't get filled, and today all those trucks are filled, and now my boss is buying more trucks. Let's keep going. That's the type of story, frankly, we hear quite often, and I'm excited about that. But that's spontaneous, or individual, it's specific. And then when you come to unique, it reminds me of my dad when he worked for the Threats Directorate in the Department of Army. These people worked in dungeons, no windows, and highly secure location. My dad would do these plaques, frankly, certificates. And now and then he would just print out a certificate of recognition for one of his folks. And I got to tell you, the people in his office really appreciated the fact that he noticed what they did, he appreciated what they did, he was specific in his appreciation, and he was unique in his recognition of it as well, in the way that he sometimes would do these neat little certificates of appreciation for them, naming what they had done for him and frankly for the country. So think about that, and folks, you've got to get in the habit of doing it. I have some people that will put something in their pocket, in their left pocket, and they don't take it out of their pocket and put it in their other pocket until they've shown specific and genuine appreciation to one person per day. I want to tell a quick story. I was doing a retention seminar once, and this is one of the talking points, of course, out of my seminar. And it was interesting. In this company, it was a very large company. A lot of times we end up doing seminars for fleets that, they have about 35 people that are going to be in the seminar, so we're able to do that on a Saturday. But this company had 350 office people and over 3,000 drivers, and they So we did 10. We had 35 people a day for 10 days in a row. The good thing I didn't lose my voice, but and some people would be praying for that. I know Matt would probably agree with that. But anyway, that's a side note. So I talked about, who's that driver? Who's that driver when he calls in? You're like, oh shoot, what's going to be wrong now? Or when he comes into the office, you're about to have a griper. And this person, and he'd be upset if you got hung with brand new rope. Nothing ever makes this guy happy. And so anyway, here's what's interesting. Out of 350 employees and out of 3,000 drivers, they all said the same person. I mean, this guy was infamous. Now, I got lucky. And by the way, my very first boss in the Coast Guard said, Kelly, if good things are going to happen to somebody, they might as well happen to you. And folks, I hope that that's something you take out of this call and start believing that if good things are going to happen to somebody, might as well happen to you. And that day, a good thing happened to me. What happened is I had the planner, the very first day of the seminar, I had the planner from the California region in my class. And she said, guys, and I started talking about respect and appreciation and being specific and genuine. And I also talked about showing specific and genuine appreciation outside of the heat of the moment. I mean, in the heat of the moment, you've got to say, hey, man, thank you for what you did. But you want to absolutely leave a lasting impression. Take the time to show specific and genuine appreciation to one person that did something wonderful yesterday. So today I'm going to show specific and genuine appreciation to somebody that did something wonderful yesterday. So she said she had this real big problem in her area there in California, and she had a driver that was inbound, or his daughter had to have emergency surgery, and she said to this driver, listen, don't turn around. Don't take that load the wrong direction. If you will bring it to this place and drop it, I will have a load sitting there for you to take to the house. And so you get paid to go to the house, but please don't leave that load sitting on me. And the guy said, listen, if you'll have one sitting there, I'll take it the rest of the way, but I've got to get home before my daughter's surgery. And so she called, and lo and behold, she looked at her board, and here comes that guy. We'll just call him Joe. So she called Joe and says, Joe, I need your help. And he, what do you need? And I mean, in his typical grouchy manner, and she explained what was going on with this driver and his daughter, and he's, well, what do you need me to do? I'll try. So she asked old Joe if he would, take his load to this one place and drop it, go to this other place, get a trailer, go to another place, get that one loaded, and then bring that one back, stage it for this driver, take that driver's load, deliver it, and then go and do something else with this other trailer, and then come back and get his load, deliver it too. And I mean, it was a whole bunch of running around. But you know what? Old Joe said he'd do it. And when it was all said and done, she said, man, thank you, Joe. You sure helped me a lot. Hey, here's your load, and thanks a lot for what you've done. But here's where the magic happened. The next day, she called Joe, and she said, hey, Joe, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate, again, what you did yesterday. And by the way, the other driver wanted me to pass the word on that he got home this morning. He made it and was able to be there with his daughter as they were going into surgery. We don't know how that's turned out yet, but he wanted me to thank you for helping make all that happen. And I just want you to know, Joe, I appreciated what you did. You sure pulled me out of the fire yesterday. Oh, yeah, no problem. I was just doing my job, But here's the rest of the story. As Paul Harvey would say, page 2. She said, folks, every time one of you give Joe a load going into my area, he accepts that load from you. The very next phone call he makes is to me, or actually she said satellite communication he sends is to me, and it says, hey, Jill, I'm going to be in your area just in case you need anything. That's how powerful this is. People ask me all the time, Kelly, how do you get drivers to go the extra mile? How do you get people committed to you? How do you get people to do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it? Well, folks, this is one of the magic bullets to that. and it's appreciation. People appreciate when they are specifically and genuinely appreciated. But I've got to tell you, you can say thanks in the heat of the moment. You want to rock their world? Say thanks out of the heat of the moment. Call them the next day and show appreciation to them. And the question is, what's in it for me? Oops, let me hit the right button here. What's in it for me? The truth is, you ever notice how you feel when you make somebody else's day? It makes you happier. And people will want to do more for you. You want to increase your circle of influence. Start showing specific and genuine appreciation to people. And people will want to go the extra mile for you. And lastly, people won't want to quit working for you. I've wondered about how to word that, but I put it that way so it would really make the point. See, people don't quit companies. People quit people. And you want to see how to have those 4 bullet points happen, and then more in your area of responsibility. Start being the person that looks for the opportunity to make somebody else's day. And then, of course, say thanks in the heat of the moment. Safety directors, you see somebody outside and they're doing a pre-trip inspection, or they're getting out and looking as they're backing in, or about to back up and hook a trailer. You see them doing the right thing. Go out there and recognize them doing the right thing, and you'll have people that want to do more of the right thing. In the heat of the moment, we've got to say thanks, but we also go the next day and show that specific and genuine appreciation. And I tell you what, I did this with one of my fleets, and they testified back. Man, Kelly, we got drivers calling us all the time asking us, man alive, what happened around there? Is it Christmas or what? Because it seems like everybody is just so happy. Well, folks, I hope that's what I hope for you, is that people will start doing this. It will have an impact, a positive and proactive impact on your retention. Next month, we're going to talk about respect. And I'm going to talk about some things you can do for respect. But, folks, there are some things that we do that absolutely are disrespectful. And we don't even mean it when we do it. But when you're on the receiving side of it, it absolutely is not good. So I got a question from one person. Will I share my slides? Absolutely. Folks, what Laura does in follow-up to these webinars is she will send each of you a follow-up email with these slides, but they're also listed. Ramsey takes my slides and puts them out on my website. So all the slides for all the past webinars are on impacttrans.com. So with that being said, we've used our 30 minutes. I've gone 1 minute overboard with the audio trouble. I apologize for going over this morning. But you guys can contact me anytime. You have any questions, feel free to send me an email and or give me a phone call. To those that are going to the Dallas Truck Show, I will see you there. I'm actually heading out the door this afternoon, heading to Dallas to get the booth set up there. With that, thank you so much for being on the call, and look forward to seeing you again next month.